Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Better Opinion. It has been quite some time. We took some time off after the holidays. Manser abandoned me and then took a lot of naps. And so now here we are. But I am still your host, Kevin, joined once again by my co-host, Manser.
No longer sleepy. I don't need my blankie, and I think I'm ready to go.
You're ready to go. All right. Yeah. Blankie removed. Sleepy gone.
I'm ready for the world.
Ready for the world. Well, there's a lot that has happened, most of which I have zero desire to talk about. It's insane.
Yeah, I don't think it's that crazy.
I think it's that. Well, you know what? Let's say that's true. So crazy that we're not. So not crazy that there's no need to talk about any of it. We won't talk about it at all. Instead, I want to talk about video games because despite the state of the world being probably far more popular of a topic, I want to talk about things I like, and I like video games. And recently I was watching videos from different YouTubers like Dunkey and others about Highguard.
Yeah, I like the high. What is it? What? Fuck. God damn it. I can't. Not even popular fucking media. I can't remember the defend the high ground or whatever. What is he saying in Star Wars?
Don't remember.
You don't remember what he says in Star Wars?
Oh, in Star Wars? Oh, I have the high ground.
I have the high ground.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know you were talking about Star Wars. I thought you were talking about something in Highguard. I was like, I don't know. Did they say that? Did they say defend the Highguard? Like
they don't. I don't think they say anything in Highguard. I don't.
But they say stuff. It just who cares?
Yeah.
I don't really care. Highguard is interesting because I think it's sort of astonishing. It's astonishing to me that this game, that our good friend, the liar extraordinaire, Jeff Keighley, who is for some reason just the face of video game shows, despite probably millions of other better options. He was like, he's just sitting there and he's like, you're going to be so excited. I got the chance to play it. It's amazing. Everyone's going to love it. Welcome to Highguard. And then it's like, okay, this looks really generic. So this looks like some Unreal Engine shit. All right, here we are. And then it released and like, does anyone play it?
I tried to play it. I saw the trailer and honestly, I didn't know what I was looking at.
That's really the problem, huh?
I didn't know what I was looking at, so I didn't know if I was supposed to be excited or upset. Many other people decided to be upset, but I thought maybe, you know what? Maybe this game might be good. So I went into the queue for like a good hour or so.
Oh.
That was very fun. And then
that was the gameplay, actually. That was the gameplay portion.
And then I went in through the training mode. And then it kicked me out and I went back into the queue. But in the training mode, I did get to see the mechanics of the game, which is just...
It has mechanics. This is surprising.
It has mechanics. But the problem is all the mechanics just kind of feel tacked on.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it's supposed to fit together. It feels like you heard, oh, people like chopping down trees. I'm gonna time it. A lot of good survival games like have you chop down.
Why are you
resources.
Chopping down trees in your PvP game?
Oh, because you need resources to buy weapons. Because that's in like League and other stuff, right? But also, you can just find weapons in chests across the place. So why would you do that? But you can get armor and stuff. You get higher grade armor. Why would you do this? I guess you, in order to fight someone. But my friends who have actually played the game are like, you can't really find anyone to fight because the map's so big. So what you do is you just go around at the beginning of the game, you farm and you get high armor. Then eventually you just like fight over a sword or whatever to just attack like their what do you call it? Their nexus basically.
Yeah, but that's for League of Legends. League of Legends has nexuses, so we need those.
And they have wall reinforcing, which I don't know why they have that, but they have it.
They have it. It's real. You can do it.
And when you reinforce walls, it makes it harder to break them down. It's not that you can't. It just takes a few more hits. But
which is important.
Yeah, but while I was playing through the training mode, I was thinking to myself, how is this supposed to be fun?
Yeah, you know what? So this goes into something. So as you know, I was talking a little bit about this earlier, right? I don't want to give too many like specific details, but there's this sort of like free to play sort of niche thing that has like independent servers that I get involved with. And I recently accepted a position in the leadership to try to solve some problems because it's been having an issue. A lot of players have been leaving. And I'm kind of looking in the mirror and going, is this a losing battle? And the reason is because I could just solve all the problems tomorrow. But to do that, I'd have to convince all the people who caused the problems to stop it. and I keep and the core of that is that what people do is that they go, well, I like this. This is what I want. Right. And then you go, why do you want that? Because it's good. And I go, who said it was good? Right. Or I like it, or it's my vision. And I go, okay, well, if you had a decision between having players or having your vision, which would you pick? And when you say, so what is your vision? And their vision is like a vibe. And I go, right. So like, what do you want the actual experience for the player to be that isn't you? Right. And they don't really have an answer for that isn't just also vibes. And I go, okay. So is fun part of the equation? Right. Like, and then on top of that, you go like, do you even play video games? Do you play this video game? You know, it's this issue. And I think Highguard is sort of an example of that. If it's just like things that sound good to you or sound good. I don't even think a Highguard is this. Highguard is like things that sound good to someone who isn't making or playing the game.
Yeah, it's like, this sounds like a concept. It doesn't even sound like a good concept to me because I don't like a lot of these mechanics. But if the problem is, it doesn't feel like they have a good idea of, well, what is it I'm trying to like do? What is
That's
the player?
what I mean. Yeah. What am I trying to do? What is the goal?
Because what I thought was like originally, like, oh, you have a bunch of weapons in like a large arena. This is maybe like a arena shooter.
But it's not.
But it's not. It's some sort of MOBA. So like, because you get resources and you attack their nexus. So what you do is you're like fighting waves, but there are no waves or anything. There's no other way to deal with the economy except for smashing into crystals.
Great.
So it's some sort of survival thing, but you don't really do any survival mechanics. Nothing really deteriorates. So I just don't understand what the idea was. Like, what from beginning to end, what did you see like a multiplayer experience like having? You do all these things, but doesn't it feel a bit superfluous? Doesn't
Right.
it feel like there's just a lot just for the sake of being a lot?
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean, right? So the thing I was drawing a parallel to isn't identical in any way as a game, but there's this core problem with people who make things where they don't really know what the experience that they're trying to have really is. They've just got about a bunch of vibes, or they just think these things are popular, or, you know, in fact, I would argue the thing I'm drawing a parallel to is almost the opposite. It's the same problem from the opposite perspective. With Highguard, it's a bunch of people who were just making a game because they were told to make a game from a committee of people who have no clue about games or play games and are just trying to make money. And this other group of people from the thing I'm drawing a parallel to is they do play games. They're not playing this game, but they have a lot of opinions that are really just based upon like what they're like the story they would like to tell if they were writing a book, you know? And then it goes, right, but is this like good for the player? Well, I don't want us to sacrifice this thing for the player. And I go, well, then why is it a game? Go write a book. What's the goal? What's the end goal that you want? Do you know? Do you know what you want the end goal to be? Nobody knows. Nobody knows with game development anymore. Everyone's just making random shit. Nobody has a vision of what they want the result to be. You can't say, well, maybe my game isn't for those people. And I go, well, then your game's for no one. Who is your game for? What people?
Yeah. I feel like you have told me a lot about this. I feel like it's a problem with open source projects that don't have a very strong leading voice
Yeah.
about what am I actually creating, and what is like the begin. There has to be a beginning and end of what the product is. There are things that are maybe nice to have, but if it's not if it's like interfering with the product, it needs to be cut out, or maybe it needs to be thought about, like maybe some other time if it fits in, but you need to make this one thing and nothing superfluous.
Yeah, no, that's people hate this. People hate when I remember when I first started trying to help with the things that I've been dealing with, and I used the term product. And I said, well, these are users and this is a product, right? These are the customers. It's a problem. Well, they're not customers. And I go, users, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. You hate the word customer, but they are a customer. You are providing a service and they are providing custom, right? So but you can change it. They're the users, they're the players, they're whatever you want. The point is that it is a product, and people don't like that because they want everything to be art. Everyone wants everything to be art, and because they think that makes it sound more intellectual and better.
The problem with that is that even in my like creative writing classes, the number one thing that they told me is like, you cannot expect people to want to read your thing.
Yeah.
You have to convince them. It's just different wording. Because like a lot of people got mad at people for hating Highguard, but
well, then why aren't you playing it? Go play it. If it's so good, go play it.
But here's the problem. It's like I have every right to like have opinions on this game because it's a free-to-play game. It
You have a right to have
my
opinions
time.
any of the day. If you paid for it, you have the right to have an opinion.
Even if I didn't pay for it, I have a right to have an opinion because it is a thing that wants my attention. It is a product. It is a product that kind of exasperates the problem with a lot of free-to-play games because a lot of companies think to themselves, I'm going to make a free-to-play game. I'm going to put all my resources into making the next free-to-play game with like $100 cosmetics. This game had cosmetics, by the way. It had a shop.
Yeah, no content. Well, this is Darktide did that. No content, but a cash shop where they're charging you the base price of the game for some pants. Thank God I get to look like a raggedy hobo for the same cost as the game.
Yeah.
I could already do that by just using the base skin. You see what I'm saying? Like it is a complete. I mean, companies are to blame for some of this, right? Because they're like, well, we want cosmetics. That's how we're going to make money.
I feel like a lot of consumers are to blame too, because we have gotten, for some reason, there's just a group of people who want to be positive no matter what. Mm-hmm. It's like, you have done something amazing. You made a game.
Well, I can tell you what the problem is. It's because social media has convinced people who have nothing of value to say that everything should be heard, right? So everybody wants to have a take. We're guilty of that. We're having takes right now, right? The only difference is that I have at least the ability to articulate myself and explain why I feel the way I feel in a constructive manner. Someone can decide whether they want to listen or not. But people who've never really put any effort into having constructive thoughts and being able to express why they feel the way they feel and actually be able to drill down to the core of why they have that opinion, those people still believe that they need to put out their hot take so they can have a banger tweet or whatever fucking shit will give them a dopamine rush.
Yeah. I have my opinions because I've experienced like creating a bullshit feature before. I've done it in my programming life. It was like I spent months on a feature. It's like this was unique. No one's ever done it before, and like I didn't know why they wanted this thing, but apparently they wanted it. So I created it. It's like, and eventually when it came out, they said, "We don't want this anymore.
Yeah,
throw it out." It's like, why did I waste my time? You're wasting your developers' time. These people that you're crunching, these people that you're treating like shit, you are wasting their time doing this bullshit because you don't have a vision.
I sat down with the host of this thing I was talking about and I said, what do you want? I said, don't worry about what I want. What do you want? You know, how many players do you want? What is it that you know, are you willing to make sacrifices to achieve that? Because it's called objective-based thinking. We've talked about this, right? We said the middle isn't always important. You've got to figure out that, but you have to have a clear starting point and a clear end point. And the end point is the thing you have to always keep in mind, this has to be solid. It has to be nearly absolute. Sometimes you may modify it because you along the way learn something and you go, oh, I can do better, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe this is actually impossible, so we have to adjust it to become possible. You know, if I said I wanted to have anti-gravity and then it turns out I just can't do that. Okay, well, how do I make something sort of similar? You know what I mean? But like but this thing needs to be almost absolute. And the reason is because every decision you make, you have to stop and go, does this serve that goal?
Do I need to change this goal? It's fine to change.
It's okay to change your goal. Because you can go along the way and say, I don't want to sacrifice this for the goal. So what new goal can I create that allows me to not sacrifice this? So you might say, oh, I want 100 consistent players, but to get that, I'd have to sacrifice this. I don't want that. I'm okay with 80 consistent players, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But you have to always be able to refer back to this, right? And then if you make that decision and the result is exactly what you figured would happen, you can't be upset about it. You can't say, well, maybe this game isn't for you, or maybe this product isn't for you, and then be surprised and go, okay, bye. I'm out. You know, you can't be upset about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous. And it's something people don't get, but people don't even think that far. They're just so invested in whatever idea they have in their head about whatever, whether it's making Highguard or whether it's making this other thing or whether it's there's a variety of other games. We can pull up tons of games. Why is Kenshi successful despite being a weird niche game? So many people go, yeah, Kenshi is hot garbage and one of the best things I've ever played. Why?
It has a clear idea in mind of what you're supposed to do. It's just a sandbox for you to fuck around with.
The creator had a vision. He knew what he wanted to make, and he learned along the way. Yeah. But he had a clear idea of the thing he wanted to deliver, and he didn't expect it to make $1 trillion. He just wanted to make this thing, and that vision flowed into the creation to the point of creating something that other people were like, wow, this doesn't exist until now, and I want to experience this. You know, it's okay to do something new or crazy or different, but you have to go into it with different expectations. And if your expectation is to like make $1 trillion, you're going to make decisions that end up being jumbled. You know, you're going to prioritize different things in weird ways. And the problem with Highguard is it's made by committee by rich people who don't play video games.
Yeah. Because the weird thing about Kenshi is it's not for me, but when I was going through it, it's quite an abstract game. I never thought to myself, why is this mechanic even here?
Right.
Because it made sense as part of what I was playing, why each of the mechanics existed. I never saw a mechanic and thought to myself, this feels out of place.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Like, even the combat, as like wonky as it is, it feels like it makes sense to be part of this game.
Yeah. Well, and even in the combat, I mean, Kenshi's combat, it's like a real fight, right? Like they block, they parry. There's some dice rolls happening, but it's also like animations actually matter. Like certain weapon animations just produce results, you know, wide swings can hit nearby people. You know, there's a reason that sometimes it's like, well, this guy outskills this guy, but this guy's still fucking everyone up because his wide swings are hitting multiple people. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's, it all seems like it came from a place of trying to maintain a certain idea. And because of that, it all meshed together. Whereas Highguard has a bunch of ideas that are not connected to each other. You asked the question, what was the goal here?
Yeah.
It was to make, I guess, some Unreal Engine thing, but what is it?
The whole time I was just confused about what was I supposed to experience here? Because even the menu, I was thinking to myself, this is just the Apex Legends menu.
But that's just AAA development. Everything. I have a thing I say about AAA games, and I say they just feel like they're made of plastic. You know, they're just like Unreal Engine Semi hyper realistic models. They all just look like dudes. There's nothing like charming about them. Why are people still interested in Deadlock? Despite, it got really popular during its beta, then it waned down because it's an unfinished thing.
Yeah.
But now it's getting really popular again. And the reason is because Valve, the people making Deadlock, have a vision. It has identity.
Yeah.
These characters stand out. And that was the same thing Team Fortress 2 had. They don't even look the same. They're stylistically completely different, but they had style.
They talk about it in like the Left 4 Dead 2 dev talks. It's like, we really want to make sure the silhouettes for each thing is different enough that you recognize it. For like the charger, for like the tank, the spitter, and all of them. You
want to be able at a glance to recognize what you're looking at.
Yeah, it's the same in Team Fortress. It's the same in all of their games. They
put a lot into your ability to really understand what you're looking at and to give it character.
And I hate how other free-to-play games do not do this. There's this whole thing in Overwatch 2. A bunch of new characters came out. It's like one of the characters really just has the face of like 5 other characters.
They started out as a game with very, very unique characters that all look different. And over time, they've just started going, well, we're actually just making porn models because that's what sells. They don't want to admit that. Right. Mm-hmm. But like the reality is I would be surprised to find out that they don't have a member of staff that just goes on Rule 34 to find out like how well a new character is performing in the porn world.
It's like, that's who we'll give the skins to.
Yeah. Like I feel like that, and this is what League of Legends did too. They said, we don't want to make monsters anymore. We're only going to make, and the reason is because they got popular in China, and in China, just a bunch of characters that look identical that are all hyper pretty. That's like what's popular. So they just stopped having personality.
Karthus is no longer a skeleton.
This is the worst thing anyone has ever told me. I don't play League anymore. I don't want anything to do with that game. And I used to play it for many years. I played it since beta, right? And I was very addicted for a very long time, but I don't touch it anymore. But that's the thing, right? It's like you reach a point where you're like mass appeal to the point of no appeal.
Yeah.
They all look the same. Who cares?
I hate this in like a lot of free-to-play games because they have this one model they kind of copy paste, and then it's a problem in like Marvel Rivals. It's a problem in a lot of gacha games. I'm very surprised like why people want new models in a gacha game. They all look the same.
This actually happened. There's a gacha game that I like well enough. I don't usually like gacha games, but because it was Honkai Star Rail, and it's because it's turn-based RPG.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of I remember going through a couple different expansions. So each time they release a new part of the main story, it's a new world, right? It's got its own plot for there. And like the first couple places, it's definitely got that gotcha, like everybody looks the same. But then you started going to some places where things got a little more unique. And I remember going to Penacony. And in Penacony, it's like a dream world. It's a hotel. It's a super massive hotel where you have a room and you go to sleep in the room, and there's actually a theme park in your dreams. And everybody's in the same dream. And like, so anything can happen there because they're literally just molding a virtual reality out of dreams. And that meant it was really wacky. Monsters were anything from a television to, a toy dinosaur to like just different stuff. And a lot of the characters, weren't crazy standout, but they could be, Gallagher was just a gruff dude, but none of the other characters looked like him. Oh my God, what was the cowboy's name? I'm drawing a blank, and I just thought of him a minute ago. But he's like super unique model, like nothing about him is identical. And then Penacony ended, and they took us to something based on like loosely Greek mythology. And suddenly all the characters just looked the same to me.
Oh.
I was like, these are all just like the same girl or guy, but with like different hair and outfit is what it felt like. And I was like, damn, this is boring because everyone had such... Aventurine was just a handsome boy, sure, but he also just had character. His his outfit, his way he held himself, his design. Because Venturing's whole thing was that he was a gambler, but he was rigging his own bets. You know what I mean? That was his own thing. That was his own personality. That was his superpower. He rolls the dice, but always hits the jackpot, you know? And that was really it stood out. He stood out. Everything in that setting in Penacony, every person introduced really stood out. And these Olympiad people are just kind of boring. They all kind of look the same. Even China. I remember when they took us to the China spaceships, and I don't like it. I didn't like the lore. It just felt like generic China wank. But man, the characters really stood out. They really were unique. You know, like you could tell them apart at a glance.
You know, there's some irony in like when your business model is selling artwork, but you limit your artists so much that they only have a single model they can work off of.
Yeah.
Can't really do much off of that. I feel like you look at skins that they kind of mold together. A lot of Overwatch skins are just kind of recolors and stuff like that. I find that...
Yeah, do you want to spend $15 on like blue instead of red?
Yeah. Michael's mad at me right now.
Because he said, yeah.
Okay.
It's because you're exasperated because you know it's true and it's frustrating.
It's frustrating because I would like to spend money on... Here's the thing. I like to spend money on microtransactions if I felt like the skin is good. Mm-hmm. But the skin is often not great, and the model is very generic. Often I'm finding myself thinking, which character is this?
Yeah, who am I even looking at right now?
It's like is this like was it Kiriko or the new character or someone else?
They just keep releasing girls that are like the same height, weight, build, and they've got a cutesy girl voice, and that's it. That's their personality, you know?
It's like, at least I hate Moira in the game because she's impossible to hit, but at least she looks different.
I love playing Moira. I was really good at her, and she's a good character, but she's distinct.
Yeah. You're
not mistaking Moira for someone else.
It's like, you don't see Moira come around the corner. It's like, is that May?
Is that May or Mercy or who
is that? Winston?
Is that Winston Overwatch? There he is. Winston Overwatch, a 5 foot tall woman.
And it's so disappointing.
They should do that. They should make a skin for Winston that just makes him a 5 foot tall woman.
Just change his model completely.
Yeah. And then he goes, hello.
Because they said audibly that we're done making like weird creatures. We're only going to create.
And then they lied because they're releasing Jetpack Cat.
They released Jetpack Cat, but Jetpack Cat to me looks like he's kind of from an Overwatch, what do you call it? Some different game that's trying to be Overwatch. He doesn't look like he's a model in Overwatch.
I'm not saying that this is true, because I'm sure it's not. But wouldn't it be funny if you pulled that model and checked its skeleton and found out that it was just Kiriko, but then they just like put a cat on her head and made it invisible?
It could be that.
That'd be really funny, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's how I felt about what's his name, the guy with his toes out. It floats around.
Sigma?
Yeah, Sigma Grindset. Because Sigma was not... He was thrown together. They had the model. It was an unfinished character from a while ago. Mm-hmm. And they grabbed the model and they said, well, we don't want to give him a walking animation, so let's make him float. And then they said, well, we already have like 5 abilities already made, so we're just going to reflavor them and then put him out. Literally, his rock throw was just from when they were designing Doomfist, and they just decided not to use the rock throw for Doomfist. So it already existed, and they just slapped it on him. It doesn't even need to make sense. The shield is just it's just Reinhardt's shield.
Yeah,
you know,
it just floats in front of them.
Yeah, he was a super lazy character, and people defend it because they go, "Oh, I like Sigma," and I'm like, it doesn't matter if you like him. He's still just slapped together.
Yeah,
right. Your like will never change the reality of what he is, which is a low effort, quick release because every time they receive criticism, they release a new character. That's how they do it. And then they make him gay. They go, we're releasing a new character and he sucks dick, or we're releasing a new character and she eats pussy. And that's what we're doing. So please stop talking about how our CEO rapes people. Please.
Stop talking about the breast milk stuff.
Yeah. Please don't talk about it. Look at Soldier 76. Look how gay he is. Please, please, please stop talking about all our controversies. We can't help ourselves. We're bad people.
It's amazing that they're not doing that now with Bill Gates and stuff.
Well, it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, that one I feel like is just sort of like, we're just going to, I don't think he's in charge of anything anymore, so they don't really need to.
I guess.
He's just owns a lot of stock. He's retired, right? But the fact of the matter of game design is that you don't need $1 million to make something good. You need to make something that has a clear vision and a clear objective, with an understanding that that objective needs to be good for more than just you, right? So if you're making YouTube videos, and I had this issue when I was first starting to make YouTube videos, is I was just making things, but I didn't really know what the vision was. And then one day I said to myself, okay, this is what I want to make. So you have to, I'm not saying you should make things you don't like, because I said I have to make something I like or I'm not going to want to make it.
Yeah.
But I also have to make something people would want to watch, right? And that's a question you have to ask yourself. So where does what I like meet what people will consume?
How niche of a product do I want to make?
Right. Well, because you can make niche products, but understand that if it's so niche, people are never going to consume it.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm forgetting so many terms. God,
I don't know. I'm having one of those days too, so it's okay. The 4 people that watch our podcast are not going to be upset.
Are you going to make a cult classic, or are you going to make an actual classic?
It's not even a cult classic, because a cult classic means that someday someone's going to find out it's good, right?
Yeah.
But if you're just making a mess, or, you know, here's a difficult thing. Everybody thinks they're a genius, and they write stories that are not genius. And this is why one of the things I talk about a lot is I actually get pretty defensive of good but generic stories, because people will go, oh, this is just insert this. This is just a copy of this. And I go, but was it good? Right? Like you'll find that with books, manga, light novels, even anime, a lot of them are just the same thing over and over. And yet people watch them or consume them or read them or whatever. And they do this because it's a winning formula that is good. And so, yeah. But then you have versions that are bad. Poorly written copies will not get consumed, but well-written copies will. And it's because there are themes, ideas, and concepts that people want more of. And you can make fun of it for just being more. But I remember I used to complain about sequels like this. I hate how every game, Halo 2 was so different from Halo 1. And I was disappointed by that. But Halo 3 kind of took us back. And I liked that. I didn't, and Reach really felt very similar to Halo 1. It felt like they took all the good ideas that came from other games, and slapped it on the Halo Combat Evolved, right? With modern systems, modern stuff, but it had that vibe that the other games had lost. And every time you make a sequel, people go, well, we need to reinvent the wheel. And I go, please don't reinvent the wheel. I would actually like to just keep playing. If you had just let me keep playing Halo Combat Evolved, just made more levels to the story, that would have been great. If it had been Halo Combat Evolved continued instead of Halo 2, I would have been like, great, yeah, let's pick up where we left off. Same game, same mechanics. I don't need anything new. I just want more.
The idea of developing a sequel versus developing a new game is quite interesting, because you need, there's a sort of expectation there now that you will cater to what was good previously. Because if you do not cater to that, then why is it even a sequel?
Yeah, what's the point of a sequel if you're not going to cater to what people already want?
Yeah.
You know, I agree. Well, that's what I think about with Final Fantasy. You know, Final Fantasy's kind of dead in the water. They keep fucking it up. But for a long time, each Final Fantasy game was an attempt to do something different than the last, you know? And that's fine because there was no sequel, right? It wasn't Final Fantasy 2, the continuation of the Red Mage and his friends, right? It was Final Fantasy 2, this is a complete new story, you know, we're starting fresh. I don't think Final Fantasy 10 has to have anything to do with Final Fantasy 7. right? So if you've introduced a bunch of different stuff, I'm actually okay with that because I wasn't expecting more of the same, right? Now, the Final Fantasy games are named like their sequels. But then you got Final Fantasy X-2. And I like Final Fantasy X-2, but its number one complaint from people is it's not Final Fantasy X. Right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's a good point. Why didn't you just make it? You could have done the story the same. Why did you do this dress sphere stuff? Why did you change the combat from turn-based, order-based to time-based, turn-based, right? You know, the action bar shit.
Yeah.
Why did we do this? And the reason that we did this is someone just for some reason decided to. It wasn't necessary.
Yeah. The problem is messing with legacy. And when you mess with legacy, you kind of fuck with your players because they like that. The reason that they're there is because of the legacy. But Final Fantasy is a weird one because, like you said, each new one is a new game. I kind of wish they just came up with new naming schemes.
Well, I don't even mind that though, because everyone learned, right? The problem isn't even that the name, it's that they weren't sequels, right? They're in the Final Fantasy series. There are some key core concepts you can come to expect, but each one's going to be new. But 10-2 was a sequel, right?
Yeah.
Why is it different? You know, why wasn't it just more 10? I love 10. I want more. Why did you give me something else? Now, I like 10-2 for the things that are different about it. But when someone says I didn't like it because it wasn't 10, I go, that's valid. Because it should have just been a different game, not 10-2, or it should have just been more of the same.
Yeah. It's like if they turned Halo 2 into a turn-based combat.
Yeah, why'd you do that? You know, like what made you think that was a good idea? And that is a problem with sequels, you know, it goes back to that same thing with Overwatch. They're dropping the 2.
It's no longer.
And I was like, why'd you put it there to begin with? And some people defend it. They go, I think it was different enough. I said, but it wasn't, because it's the same game. The old models are still in the game. This blows my mind. If you switch between Diva's new skins and your legacy skins.
It's a shader, I think.
Her ass also just is bigger. They shrunk her ass in the new skins.
What?
Yeah. It is a different model, but it's also the same because her skeleton's the same. So you can it's not new. It's the same game because the skins weren't remade for the new game. The skins it's the same character. It's the same.
Yeah.
They're the same skins. They just ported the skins in.
Oh yeah, I assume that, but
so it's not new because they didn't even port it. They didn't remake it. They didn't port it. It was just already in the game because it's not a new game.
Oh yeah, Overwatch 2 never made sense because originally the idea was like, oh, we're putting in a new engine and then we're also going to add single player. Remember that?
Yeah, remember single. Well, that's because Blizzard doesn't know how to make single player anymore. All their developers are gone. They don't know how to make games.
Well, they fired all the developers who did the story stuff.
Well, that's what they do. Do you know what their development model is? Hire you, fire you. So they don't. This is actually a thing a lot of companies do, and it's the core reason that there's no one who ever remembers how to do anything. Someone makes a game, they learn a lot to make that game, they finish the game, and then to save on overhead, we fire them because they're no longer producing. Now we hire new people at the same price that we originally hired that guy. That person has the same education level. So they're learning from scratch. There's no seniors to teach juniors. There's no one who knows legacy. There's no one who's carrying knowledge forward. So every cycle, these developers have none of the knowledge that the last ones had.
Yeah. There's probably a very cool tool that makes things much easier. You'll never know.
It's not. There's so many lessons. Lessons about game design, lessons about story design, lessons about tools and mechanical features, and it's why it's all programmed sloppy. It's why it doesn't stick. It's disconjointed. It's all because there's no legacy within the organization.
It's a problem with a lot of games is that you end up with people who are so focused on the money, they forget about how to work around a developer's site. Let me reword this in a way that doesn't sound bad. Around how developers work and transfer information, because much as these are like developer jobs, it feels like they don't treat these people like developers are treated in other companies. It's such a weird thing to see because it's like I have a weird like look into this because I've been in 2 different jobs where I've been a developer. I've been teaching other people how to work on products, etc. And there's a lot of things that is not really written down in documentation because that would take forever. That would take half your job would be writing shit down if you had to write down all the like tribal knowledge that you have. If you just erase tribal knowledge every like half a year, it becomes impossible to understand what it is you're looking at, why things were implemented. You have to look at small like messages that people who have like thought to themselves, at some point, I'm going to make this more like, this means something to me specifically at this moment. I will write down a more meaningful comment later. Oh shit, I've been fired. It's like, never mind. Good luck to the next person who has to deal with whatever this thing is.
Yeah,
like,
no, you're absolutely right, and that's true of pretty much everything. Is you need that, as you call it, tribal knowledge or whatever, that not hereditary, but that sort of generational knowledge, that thing that's passed down from one senior to a junior. And stays within the organization, stays within the team. You don't want to lose that.
Because it's not just knowledge about coding, it's knowledge about what you are doing.
Well, it's not just coding or what you're doing or storytelling or game design, because it's not just mechanical knowledge. There's an understanding that comes from experience. I run into this all the time, okay? So I was talking about this thing that I'm stressed out about, right? And the whole thing that's happened is that I have knowledge from many, many years of experience about how to make these things work. And nobody here has that knowledge. But the problem is I try to give that knowledge, and that knowledge is stressful. And it's stressful because it goes against what these people want to do. But the problems that exist are because they don't have that knowledge. And the truth is that knowledge was painful to get to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? And I am trying to save you the pain that I had to go through to learn that information when there was no one to pass it on to me. You can just have it right now. I tell people that all the time. I say, I'm giving you 10 years of work for free. But because you're gonna learn this. It's not as if this is just my idea, right? This is how things are. And you're going to have pain to learn this lesson. Or you can have it for free. But it's gonna be a hard truth because the reason it's painful to learn is because you think you're right and you're not.
Information is so painful to get. It's so valuable. I can tell you why. Because I had to like work for a client once to move their stuff in AWS. I had to talk to someone who was laid off in order to get the correct information to help them. Because the person who was in charge had no idea what he was fucking doing.
Yeah, he doesn't have the knowledge.
He didn't know enough. I had to like say, hey, who actually knows what's going on there? And we had to get into a meeting. This took me weeks to like get the right information in order to actually do my work. So
yeah, because nobody even knew, because nobody had an answer, because all the information was lost.
All the information.
Well, and we don't value that, right? Organizations don't value knowledge. They just look at spreadsheets, and then they ask the question, oh no, why are we hurting? What happened? Right? It can't be because I'm wrong. It has to be someone else's fault. Yeah. You know, it's you run into it all the time, and it drives you insane. You know, I hate having those arguments. There's nothing I hate more than when I'm trying to lay down just sort of a brass tacks reality, and people are trying to argue with me about what's right and wrong. And I tell people this all the time, that there's no such thing as right and wrong. There's only the result. You know, right and wrong is a moral position. Right and wrong is morality. There is correct and incorrect, but only as it relates to the thing you are trying to do. If you told me I'm trying to put that tree in that truck, and then, well, it doesn't fit and it's too heavy, right? There is a right and a wrong way to do that, but that's only if you actually care if the truck survives. Yeah. If you told me, well, actually the truck can be crushed, I don't even want to drive it, I just want the tree on that truck, then I go, there's a lot of ways we could achieve that. But if you told me I want to put the tree in the truck and drive the truck to this place, there is a correct thing, but that's not a moral position.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as right and wrong. There is only the result. Now, there are maybe better ways to do something. So people say, well, this is the right way. And what they mean is the better way. And you can argue this, and some people will argue the semantics of the words, but the lesson, the core lesson of that idea is you need to know how to achieve the result you want. And if you aren't achieving that result, then you cannot insist that you're doing it correctly.
Yeah,
It's what we said before the camera was on. If your goal is to have players play your game, you can't tell people maybe this isn't the game for you, because then they're going to go, you know what, you're fucking right, and they leave. And then you go, why are my players gone?
I've learned the hard way, talking through like support systems through various companies, that if you want to get something done, you really have to talk straight with people. You can't kind of talk around it.
They hate that, and they get mad, and they hate you for it.
But the problem is, if you don't do that, it will take you weeks to get information that you need. And I found that I need to ask very specific information, like, hey, this is how it is now, and like continue with that. Are you sure it's going to be this way a few weeks from now? Is this something we're going to have to worry about like months from now? Because I'll tell you, like, a situation that I had to go through. Like, someone told us, you have to change this account. This account cannot be this way because we're moving away from it. This account does not work with the way that our program is working. So like, I was thinking to myself, okay, they must have some sort of way for us to migrate. So I talked to like 5 different teams, like, hey, how are you doing this? It's like, we can't use your way because your way is insecure and does not make sense with the way that, with the idea of they are moving away to more secure accounts. So let me talk to the actual people, like, hey, it's like, we're doing this specific thing. We're from AWS to your MSSQL thing. We don't have a way to do this. We have to use Kerberos. Mm-hmm. Do you have a way to do this? They said, we don't allow you to use Kerberos through AWS. No one else knew this. No, like, I had spent months figuring out how the fuck do I set this up in like AWS. I was thinking to myself, this is impossible. There has to be some documentation about this. I've talked to Weeks. How are you implementing this? How are you implementing this? 100 different teams. I had to talk, hey, how the fuck are we supposed to do this? Because it was the SQL team that told us we needed to migrate. It was someone from their team that told us we need to move. And I said, we are from AWS. We need to connect to an MS SQL server. How do we like do Kerberos or whatever? We don't support this. Okay, how do we do this? We need to access your SQL account. It's like, oh, you just do what you've been doing this whole time. You are supposed to do nothing.
Oh my god.
So I had spent months in a fucking wild goose chase, only to find out there was nothing I needed to do. And I asked them, are there any plans for us that we need to consider doing this? They said, as far as we know, no.
Yeah. It sucks. Sometimes you just got to go ask the right people. Sometimes you just got to tell people like it is. I think the hardest thing that I run into is that I'm very good at seeing the problem and then being able to just say this is a problem, but that hurts people's feelings. And I don't like having to do that. The worst thing in the world is when I find out that I was honest and forward with someone and it really made them feel bad. It's also sort of inevitable.
Yeah.
When you tell someone, yeah, what you're doing is the wrong move, they always feel hurt. And it sucks, But when you try to maneuver around people's feelings, it just never gets done. And it no one ever takes reality. No one ever gets a reality check of like, I had this conversation with someone last night. I said, this is a problem. We're bleeding. Death by 1,000 cuts. We have to fix this. And these are the core problems. And we can sit here all day and say, but these people are wrong. And I go, then why do we? Then why are we upset that they're mad and gone, right? Like, if we want to solve the problem, we have to maybe look in the mirror and go, ooh, are we wrong? Am I the baddie? you know, and that maybe hurts your feelings, and we're going to do a lot of coping, you know, but at the end of the day, what's more important?
It's changed how I talk to people professionally, because I make sure to like to just be as succinct as possible, just to like say, this isn't really a personal thing, this is just functionally, this doesn't make sense. The way we're doing this is mostly just to make sure that we're using all the buttons, but we're kind of doing a roundabout thing of something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no reason to do this. Or
I
something
do that. I do that too. I try to just be like, listen, this is why I prefer voice. I hate text because people make shit up about text. I prefer just talk to someone directly and go, listen, I'm not mad. I'm just telling you, full stop, blank has to happen. You know, I had an issue with someone who was just arguing with users, you know, not looking good. And I had to pull them aside and go, listen, I'm not attacking you, but you need to shut the fuck up. You need to stop talking. And I know that doesn't feel good, but brass tacks, you need to stop talking.
Because, you know, talking is, people who are talking to like your consumers is very important.
Yeah.
It causes issues. Like Highguard's telling players that you're wrong. It's not correct. It doesn't help you get more players. 2XKO, a recent fighting game that came out, also had this issue. They worded something incorrectly. They're like, hey, like, we know that you guys like this game, but we're gonna change things. That wasn't a good sounding thing, because now all of a sudden there are a lot of new players who are getting into fighting games. These new to fighting games in general, who like, I've just learned my new combo. Wait, everything's gonna change now?
Yeah, no. So this is I was trying to explain this to someone the other day. As I said, it's really hard to earn trust and really easy to lose it. And the number one way to lose it is to make changes and not listen. And I said, do you know why I told someone this. I said, well, I just got a lot of feedback, and the feedback was not good. Do you know that I don't think anyone but me could have got the feedback, because the people were so upset that the only person they trusted to speak to was me, because my reputation is so good. Right? And I put a lot of work into getting this reputation, because I'm honest with them. I'm forward with them. I agree with them openly, despite that maybe making me look bad. I'm willing to sacrifice my own image to you in exchange for their trust. But that means that when push comes to shove, I can get them to speak to me when they won't speak to you, you know? And the reality is that that's so important. You can do a lot if people trust you to be operating in good faith. But as soon as you lose that, you are fucked. And you have to work really hard to get it back. And people don't understand that. So then they'll go, but I'm right. And I go, well, not really. Because being right isn't important. It's the result. And you can be right in an empty room if you really want to.
I'll point to No Man's Sky. That is like, people will say it's like, oh, it's successful now. He had to work very hard. That team had to work very hard to get it to be successful now, because what it was called was a liar, and he was a liar. He did lie, and no one believed anything he did. He had to release a bunch of free updates in order to get the player base to believe in him again.
Yeah, they had to prove that they were worth trusting.
Yeah.
That they acknowledged their mistake and were worth trusting. That's what's important. You have to own it and then prove it. People say never apologize. I say never waste time continuing to apologize. You apologize, you shut up, and then you earn the trust back, right? You acknowledge the mistake, you fix it. And that's how you earn trust back. And then you have to keep that up. You have to keep that up. And that doesn't mean you can't ever make mistakes, but so long as it's always good faith. Yeah, you know what? We were trying to go for something. It didn't work out. We're going to try to readjust this. Thanks for your patience. And people go, you know, wait, 5 winners. We can handle a loser as long as you're going to fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that you can't make mistakes. It's that you can't pretend that your mistakes aren't mistakes. Yeah. Right? You have to be willing to acknowledge that the mistakes you made were mistakes, and then just keep trucking, you know? But people don't do that. They get their egos involved.
And companies are so afraid of admitting mistakes for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's actually not hard to just say, yeah, you know what? We see how this wasn't a winner, so we're going to fix it.
I don't... It looks worse, but I don't know. There's someone in a boardroom that for some reason it's a bad thing. There's like everything has to be according to plan.
You know what? This actually, something sort of akin to this happened to me when I was running tabletop. When you run tabletop, you come up with a lot of stuff. And I ended up making a puzzle that ended up just not being a winner. And what I ended up getting frustrated about is I said, I need you guys to understand that this isn't like a video game. I'm not like a company. I'm a person. And I've made like, for this whole dungeon, I've made like 100 puzzles and encounters and stuff. And you've said you've enjoyed every single one of them. So I'm sorry that this one isn't a winner, but can you work with me? Because if you just don't do anything, then we sit here. I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I can't, I apologize that it's not a winner. Can you help me out here? And I'm willing to acknowledge, like, I don't have to sit here and say like, okay, this was like the perfect thing.
Yeah.
I can acknowledge that it's not a winner. But like, so do we full stop?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or what do we do here? And then people were like, oh yeah, you're right. It's not that hard to admit you're wrong.
There is context to things, like as you said before, sometimes you gotta lose some. You can't, but that's the problem, is you gotta try things.
You gotta be willing to try things and then admit when they're wrong. If I were to talk about this thing that I've been bitching about without naming things for a while, I don't actually think there's anything wrong with trying things. I think the problem always happens where we do something, it's vastly unpopular and widely considered a bad move. And then we go, but it's correct. I'm correct. And I go, well, how? Yeah. What did it work? Is everyone happy? Are even you happy? Like you're mad and you say the game sucks to play now, but you're also not willing to accept this feedback that the game sucks to play now.
That's kind of the problem that Highguard, well, not quite what we were talking about, but the problem with Highguard is it didn't try anything.
Oh yeah.
It didn't try anything. It just had a lot of stuff.
Well, I don't even know what to say. The problem is I keep moving away from Highguard because the truth is there's not much to say. Highguard isn't a game. It's a sandbox of ideas with no result. There's no goal. What do you do? Why am I here? What is my objective? I know what I'm doing when I log into an MMO. I think World of Warcraft's retail is in one of its worst states because it's kind of a mess. The only thing that matters is the latest expansion, and everything else is just like, you can't even go back and experience it. They'll be like, oh, but you can do time walking. And I'm like, yeah, I can go do time walking. And then the second I hit 90, which I hit halfway through the expansion because XP rates are tripled, it boots me out. So I can't keep, and I have to go to the current expansion, and I go, well, so I didn't even get to finish the story of Warlords of Draenor or Legion or whatever. I don't get to do that because it booted me back out because I hit the level cap for everything up into the main expansion, and so it's like it's a mess. It's a mess in that way, but. It has a thing for me to do. I know what I'm getting into. I know what my objective is. There's still the main story to do for the new expansion. I can go do it. I know what that entails. I know what the current state of the game is. There's a clear idea of what I'm about to experience that just like doesn't exist for Highguard.
What, you don't like the loading screen? The queue?
But I think that's a lot of games. I think a lot of games, they go, Darktide released, and at first it was really cool. And then you did each mission once. And then you said, well, what am I actually here for? Because most of the cosmetics are ugly. They're all very down-to-earth, boring. Not down-to-earth, but down-to-earth for the setting. It's like, it's 10 different versions of rags, right? 10 different versions of the same generic soldier outfit. Or you can spend the game's value to buy very unique cosmetics in the cash shop. And I'm like, so what if all the uniqueness, right? Because I know what I'm doing in World of Warcraft. My goal is to get through the story and get cool gear and be max level and then do some of the end game content or make a new character. But in Darktide, what is my goal? Is my goal just to endlessly grind the missions? I mean, that is sort of the goal in, say, Vermintide. But in Vermintide, they got a lot of missions, and they got like all these different builds, so you can do the same stuff but with new builds. And they got all this gear that you can get. Doing missions gives you gear. Like, there's an objective. But like half the time, until they fixed it, when Darktide first came out, you didn't even get gear from missions half the time. So the question was, what the fuck am I doing this for if there's only 5 missions and I've done them all, and all the unique cosmetics come from the cash shop, and there's a few cosmetics that are prestige, but they come from really hard achievements, and gear is just like a point, there's like a grind. What am I, and not a fun grind, like I'm just like waiting to like just buy it from the shop and hope that I get like a random good chance. It's like, what am I doing? Now the game is much better now, but when it came out is what I'm talking about, where I was like, what is the point of continuing to play this game? What, and I don't think anyone who made the game actually knew the answer to that question.
Darktide and Vermintide are hard ones for me. Darktide in general, the idea of having because I remember everyone, when the game released, everything wasn't working too well, but the cash shop worked perfect.
Of course it did. I'm going to guess that they made the cash shop before they made the game.
Which is very strange for a game that you pay up front for. Because it used to be that when you played a game like, let's say, God of War, you got Fish of War because you loved playing the game, and they were like, we're glad that you enjoyed playing the game. Play as a fish.
Yeah.
Or play as a cow. Or whatever. That was just a perk. It was like, you enjoyed the game. Therefore, you get to enjoy the game as this strange character. You don't have to pay for it. We're just glad that you loved playing our game.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you have played our game. Pay more.
Yeah, well, pay to have the things that we're not going to let you earn. Because, like, I mean, here's the thing. I like Vermintide better than Darktide to go back to. I don't really like those games in general. It's melee wave clear. It's Left 4 Dead, but without guns. And then, you just do higher difficulties for more rewards. That's just not really for me. However, I think that when I look at the two, because it's the same company, I remember when Darktide was such shit, and I would just see them be like, brand new storyline in Vermintide, refined and functional. And I'm just like, didn't you just release this game? Why does it have no content? Why does everything not work? Rats? Can I offer you some rats in these trying times, friend? That's what it kind of felt like. You go log on to Vermintide, it's got 5, they've tripled the content, from when the main story first came out.
Because it feels like a game, like they thought to themselves, you're gonna buy this game in order to buy from the cash shop, and then we're gonna have some gameplay in which you can do stuff with the stuff that you bought from the cash shop. Because it feels like the actual gameplay that they want you to take part in those games is the cash shop.
But you know what? This goes back to our conversation about Dune Awakening. Recently, I reinstalled the game because they've actually redone a bunch of stuff, because they sat down, because some executive whose brain is like this big, I feel like the richer you get, the smaller your brain gets. But it's like doing too much meth, it just shrinks your brain. But the thing is that they released this game, and in their minds they're like, okay, it's gonna be like some sandbox survival shit, grindy shit, but it's really going to be clan v clan war. And then when you finally got to the part where it was clan v clan war out in the fucking great dunes of Wormageddon or whatever, everyone was just being silly. It wasn't open warfare. It was people just ramming each other with their ornithopters, right? And playing, I think they call it Goomba stomping, because you just try to destroy someone's ship, and then you just ram them over and over until they died, right? And it was really stupid and it wasn't fun. And there was a large number of people who got into the game to build a base. And then they were like, well, then the content's over. And there were just all these issues, like the worms. The worms are this great threat until you get to in the PvE zone. It's like they start you in this area with these big gaps in between rocks, and the worm comes for you when you're out there for too long, right? And then you leave that area, and to get to the new area, you have to do a sprint on your bike across the desert to try to not get caught by the worm. To get to the other side. There's no other way across. Now later there's a way across, but in the beginning there is no way across the first time you do it. And then you get to a new zone and it's the same deal, but now you have the bike and the gaps are roughly the same size. So now it's much easier to traverse around to avoid the worm. And then you get to the shield wall. And now there's no worm. And it's just like a bunch of driving around on rocks. And that's the like latter half of the PvE zone. And then you go, what was the point of making all the deal about the worms if you're just going to make them kind of irrelevant? Everybody's flying around in their ornithopters. Everyone's up on the rocks. The worms were irrelevant. And then you get to max level, and the only option to like keep progressing content wise and to get to like the cool vehicle carrying thing, you can pick up a car and move it. You had to like go out into the deep desert where everybody's ramming each other with their ornithopters. And so everybody dropped the game, obviously, because the PvP wasn't fun. There was no point behind it. And the majority of players didn't care about PvP, which is, by the way, just kind of actually true. You know, you've got all the thing is PvP games exist. So nobody really wants to play this other stuff. Yeah. Right. And so then they realized, oh shit, we put all of our eggs in this one basket. And we kind of just like, RPG classes that are just sort of stupid. Why the fuck am I in combat as a mentat? Why are Bene Gesserit combat classes? And anyone can be them, including men.
It's crazy.
You know? And
what?
Yeah. No, anyone can be it. Well, you're not a real Bene Gesserit. You just like learned it.
It's like, yeah, it's like men can be Bene Gesserit.
Well, they're not Bene Gesserit. They just like learned it from someone else.
That's kind of the whole point.
Yeah, I know. And so then you know, so you get these classes that don't make any sense. You got the sword guy, the gun guy, Mentat and Bene Gesserit. and then you've got and what's Mentat's special power? They can put a temporary turret out.
They got drones.
They got some drones. That's what being a Mentat is. Being a human computer is having drones, right? And then you get to you build your base and you go like, what am I doing now? You know, and the main story is really interesting around the time you hit the wall of progression. So you finished progressing. The story sucks. It's just you have the same vision of a woman speaking to you in whatever the language the Fremen speak is, which is like based off of Arabic or Farsi or something, you know, and like, and so she says the same lines over and over. Bila kaifa. That's how she ends every sentence. Whatever that means, I don't remember. And it sucks. It's boring. It's just like you get high. Every mission is go to a cave and get high. I'm not kidding. This is not an exaggeration. Every mission is go to a cave, get high, and a Middle Eastern woman will tell you the same story. But this time you have to like play Simon Says with a giant eyeball, or you have to fight sand clones of yourself or something. And at the end of it, your reward is not magical powers from having done like space drugs. It's like a tool that is used as normal progression of the game.
You get a toothpick.
Yes. Like this is the thumper. You had a hallucination and unlocked the ability to purchase or make a piece of technology that is common.
We could have given you this otherwise.
Yeah. But then you get far enough, you end progression, you reach a point where you're not really progressing in PvE anymore. And then the story stops being about hallucinating and it starts being about political intrigue. And it gets really interesting. But you're also bored of the game. And that's what happened to everyone. And so everyone stopped playing the game. And so they've realized their mistake. And instead of just going, we're shutting it down, it's Concord time, we're shutting it down, they they've tried to release new content. They've taken the PvP zone and they shrunk the PvP portion of it in half so that people could go there for game progression while not being part of a clan that wants to PvP. They've added more story. They've gotten rid of oppressive maintenance things on your house. You don't have to pay taxes anymore. So they still have like power so that people who abandon their base, like eventually the base will be gone so that other people can have the space. But now you don't have to grind money to try to like pay your taxes, all this bullshit. And so I'm talking about all this because I think this is sort of the core of like, it's like Highguard. There was just a ton of ideas in there that were all half finished. And none of them were like, well, yeah, but what will players do? Someone just thought that if they like made players fight over like space drugs, that would mean that the game would be League of Legends or Rust, you know? But that's not what happened. Shroud's paycheck ran out and he never touched the game again. I'll never forget. I said this in a past episode. I will never forget seeing him say live on his stream, I'm going to be playing this for months. This is my new main game. And exactly 2 weeks later, he turned it off and never turned it on again. Ever.
You know, maybe he went through some drug trip and months went by.
He Bila-Kaifa'd.
Yeah.
That was it. One too many Bila-Kaifa and he was done.
It's weird how you can make space drugs boring.
That is quite a skill, isn't it?
Yeah.
To make the idea of space drugs boring.
You're fighting over space drugs. It's like you get the space drugs.
I have made forming a space cartel of drug dealers boring. It is pretty impressive.
It is quite impressive.
I don't know how you do that, really.
Well,
but they did it. They did it. Yeah. Wow. You know what? I remember doing a main story quest in that game where my friend was right behind me, and when I went in there, he couldn't go in because I was doing it. It wasn't instanced. He could hear the conversation on the other side of the door. I was like, oh, this isn't an instance. This is one at a time.
You can't do space drugs together.
Apparently not.
You need a supervisor.
I was astonished. I was like, wow, what a design decision. But I say all of this because Dune has that same feeling of Highguard. It's just a bunch of concepts thrown together. There's some survival craft in there. There's some PvP. There's some PvE. There's some RPG. There's some MMO. You know, there's all these little pieces and none of them really fit together. You know, they wanted to have this war, like choose a faction, but really you were choosing between okay looking green brutalism and I don't know, plastic bubblecraft. Like fucking the Harkonnens are just like you just get new building models and it's like, well, that's what you unlock from choosing a faction is just you get like ships and building materials that look themed after that faction. And so it's like you choose Atreides and it's just like green, like military green and brutalism. And if you choose the Harkonnens, you're like bubbles and rounded, sharp pointies and rounded edges, and it's all black and looks latexy, you know, because like they're an entire faction of just like BDSM people, and you go like, oh,
do you at least get the nice oil bath?
No, you don't get to take an oil bath. You don't get to be a fat man in an oil bath, sadly.
It's like you can't.
I'm looking to be the grotesquely fat floating man in an oil bath aesthetic. That's what I'm looking for from my
I would
MMO.
actually love that.
What if that was one of the classes? Forget Mentat. Just call yourself Obese Man. Floating Obese Man. That's the name of the class. Your power is like, I don't know. You're very fat. Like that's your superpower. Class skill, too fat to fail. You take less damage due to your girth.
It's like you float away from poison. It's like if someone puts up a poison cloud, you just start floating.
You just float away. It's the Bubble Baron. No, but see that's a good name. I don't like it because it's too good. I want to just be called Obese Man. That's the class.
When you die, you spawn naked in an oil bath.
You can't respawn at a bed. You have to respawn in an oil bath. Somewhere on the map, there's a few of them.
Unskippable cutscene.
Unskippable cutscene of you getting out of the bath, and it has that scene with Baron Harkonnen going, oh. Every time, same unskippable cutscene.
It's unskippable, yeah. But this time you take a hit of space drugs.
You got to take a hit of space drugs, and then like a Middle Eastern woman made of sand, walks up to you and goes, "Bila Kaifa," and then hands you a stick and goes, "This is advanced technology." You can't learn to use a stick without the drugs first. In a cave with a box of scraps. The Fremen built the stick in a cave with a box of scraps.
They take more drugs than anybody.
Yeah, that's how they made the stick.
Exactly.
That's how they learned. No one before them had ever created a stick. It was the power of drugs that really put things in order for them.
The stick was very special that way.
Yeah, very special. Yeah, I at its core, I think that, because I bet you if someone actually made an MMO where one of the classes was obese man, there'd probably be a lot of hype around that game. But nobody's doing that. Everything's made sterile. It's made in a vacuum. People will not listen to feedback. People who think they're right will not listen to feedback, and they just make garbage.
And I think it's starting to backfire now. Thank God.
It's been backfiring for a while.
It's been backfiring for a while, but it feels like now it's like you know what? That's not true. There have been big failures in the past. Xbox has been failing for a very long time.
I mean, so is PlayStation. I mean, consoles are dead, and everybody's just fighting uphill. Nintendo survives off of just goodwill and childhood nostalgia alone. Yeah. Their products aren't even that great. I mean, the Steam Deck's just better than the Switch.
They released their last Metroid game was actually horribly received because they did nothing to like go forward in the Metroidvania whatever genre since like Hollow Knight exists and all these other games. They're like, all these new games have done very cool things in a Metroidvania. You have done nothing.
Yeah, well, that's Nintendo in general, and people are finally getting tired of them because now there's all these lawsuits are striking at things that people like. I'm not here to defend Palworld, but it's been the Nintendo going after Palworld has been vastly unpopular. Nobody agrees with that except for the few people online who don't agree with anything. They're just trying to argue, and they keep doing that. A few fan projects, it's been like, why are you doing this? Well, to protect our IP. Yeah, shut up. Nobody cares. You're wrong. I'm sorry. I get that this is like a Japanese culture thing, but Nintendo, you're fucking it up. Like, listen, I'm probably one of the biggest Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom defender because there's a lot of things people complain about that I go, I think those things were not a big deal. Even if I agree with you, I don't think that they're as big of a deal as you're saying. But even I can sit here and agree that twice now they have made a game that had a lot of cool things that at the end of it, I was going, I just don't really feel like completing this game. It's not Zelda. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's not a Zelda game. It's such a weird thing because it's so sandboxy to the point where it feels like they've kind of devolved from what Zelda is, which is a puzzle game in which there's a specific solution for everything, and the only like extravagance you get is from speed running.
Yeah, it's not, I think Breath of the Wild was an attempt to do something new, and I defended that. Tears of the Kingdom did a better job, but it still has a lot of the same problems. And it's like, even if I think that I enjoyed those games, they're far more contentious than anything that came before them. But they keep doing that. They keep making contentious experiences. They sue projects people like out of existence. They release mediocre slop at a premium price. They get rid of a thing just to re-release that thing at full price. They're losing all of their goodwill. And they were the last bastion of consoles. I don't think that they're going to make it too much longer. They might for a little longer. They might get one or two more semi-wins out of there, but we already see what happened to Xbox. We see what's happened to PlayStation. Consoles are dead. And I know a lot of companies are trying to like also kill PCs and turn it all into subscriptions. That's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, this massive push for you own nothing. I'm not even talking about the conspiracy theory. I'm just saying that's what these companies want.
Yeah.
They don't want you to own your computer. They want you to do cloud gaming. They want you to pay a subscription. And it's not going to work because people will still go build their own computer because it's something people like doing.
Yeah, and there's a huge problem of you have to make a good service.
Yeah.
You have to make a good cloud service that people will like versus PC. People on PCs that I know, they already care so much about latency. How are you going to fix that?
If you could fix it, let's say you could, you have to confirm for me that it is a better option for me to pay you $20 a month forever than for me to just spend $1,000 or $2,000 right now.
And funnily enough, they have to convince another shitty group of companies, your ISPs, to give you a better service.
It's one of those things where it's never going to work because all of the it goes back to that thing I said about you have to understand people's behavior. You have to understand what people want, right? You want this, and you're going to do everything in your power to try to force this thing to exist. We're going to fuck over people's ability to get parts. We're going to make RAM really expensive. We're going to make graphics cards really expensive. We're going to try to turn everything into AI cloud computing. And you can do everything in your power and people will find a way to circumvent it because it's not what they want. And it's not what they want on multiple levels, right? They don't want to pay a subscription. They don't want to have to rely on their internet all the time. They don't want to deal with the latency problems. There are just a variety of use cases where no matter how you measure it, there are too many negatives. And I've talked about this before with my old job where everybody was making these predictive models of the way customers would behave. And I kept saying, you're wrong. And everyone told me I was wrong. And I said, I'm not. I don't know where you guys are. You're all just like sucking each other's dicks because like, I don't think any of you actually believe this. This isn't how people behave. And lo and behold, my predictions were dead accurate 3 years in a row. And it wasn't because I'm a genius. It was because if you stop talking about what you want for half a second and start thinking about how if you were the customer, how would you behave? It breaks down instantly. You know, I say this about this project that I've been frustrated about. I tell people it's not a winning move. I said, what you're trying to do is not a winning move because people will ignore it. And they go, well, then we make it mechanical. We had a mechanical reason why it works this way. I said, they'll ignore it. They're going to keep ignoring it because you're not giving them what they want. They're going to rewrite it. And then your only option is going to be to punish them, which defeats the point because now they're gone.
Yeah.
Or to just accept that they're going to ignore it.
And you know, it's already happening with streaming services. It's already happening with Netflix, Hulu. It's already on the news that people are pirating more now.
Yeah. Well, because here's the problem. When Netflix or Crunchyroll were like, there was only a couple options. You're like, oh, cool, I'll subscribe, and then I get all this stuff, and that's really good for me. But now everyone's like, oh, well, have you heard of this new show, Night of the Seven Kingdoms? It's really good. Oh, well, where is it? Well, it's on. If you're in like Norway, it's on Scrumby, but if you're in the U.S., it's on Amazon Shiddle and HBO Max. But if you have Disney Plus, then you also have access to fucking what's that thing? I forgot the green icon service. Hulu, yeah, Hulu. But if you have HBO Max, it still has ads unless you have HBO Max Ultra Fuck Edition, and you know, and that's every show. You hear about you want to go watch a movie? Trying to find where the movie even is to pay for it is hard.
Yeah, you have to go to there's specific sites that like just watch this, and then it tells you which site you can go to watch it. And you go to like Amazon. It's, oh, can I buy it here? Yes, but it's from Amazon. You have to have like a Peacock subscription.
Yeah, it's on Amazon through Peacock or some shit. It's cable TV but worse. And of course people are pirating. It's what Valve said all the time. If you want to defeat piracy, you simply have to offer a better service than the pirates. Piracy is a service problem. Yeah. And so if you're like, well, why is everyone pirating? It's because I want to watch the show right now. I would have paid you $3 to watch the whole thing right now, but I will not pay you $11 a month.
but if you pay $11 a month, you only get season 1 and 4
For some reason.
and then season 2 and 3 are not. You have to wait a few months actually, or it's on a different platform right now, or something else. It's like I don't know why it's separated. Or
Yeah, no, the streaming services are going to go back to. This will always be an issue because piracy went away when service was easy to get, right?
Yeah.
Piracy comes back when service is bad because the truth is it's a service problem. It's a convenience problem. People don't. There's a limit to how much effort people will put in before it's too much effort, and then they'll go to the easiest way to achieve that result.
Yeah. It's interesting because PlayStation, when they originally were like, hey, we're going to make PC games. We're going to delay it a bit. What they found is that PC players are very patient. they will wait. Because what they thought is eventually they're just going to get a PS5 and then they're going to play on the PS5. No.
Now they'll just go, oh, so the release date is 6 months from now. Okay. No, it's out now. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Because I have a huge backlog. I do not need your game right now.
That's exactly it. I actually have said the same thing before. I said, I have other things to play. I can wait. It's the same thing when something's overpriced.
Yeah.
Is I go, I'll just wait a year.
It's $60. I'll wait till it's $2. It's like
yeah,
that.
like I do this all the time. Unless it's something I've been really looking forward to and I really want to support them.
Yeah.
Because it's like a small developer or something.
Yeah.
But when you release like a game and I go like, oh, it's like I want to play this, but it's just like some AAA thing, I'll just be like, oh, wait a year or two.
I think all the Doom games, all like the recent Resident Evil games, I've gotten at like a steep discount. I haven't gotten any of those games at like $60.
And there are games, by the way, that never discount, and I've never bought them.
I don't think I even remember what they are.
Oh, it's often like the Call of Duty games and shit like that. You know, it's like, if you're not going to discount it, I'm never going to buy it because this is too expensive for what you're offering. And this is something I remember. This actually is true of products in general. You need to understand your value. I was talking to an artist the other day and I had to explain to them, you know, because I said the problem with like hiring an artist is that there's two kinds of artists, very underpaid or very overpaid. And they're like, overpaid? And that's because there's a culture within artists that artists are all underpaid no matter what. That's not true. There are artists who get paid insane amounts of money just because for like a single piece of art. I want a tattoo from this guy. He's not going to tattoo me. He's just going to make the art for the tattoo. $10,000, right? But the art's good, but it's not like any better than like this person.
Yeah.
You know, people who are making thousands upon $1,000s a month from just their Patreon. They don't even do commissions. And then there's someone who has an almost identical art style and has to struggle to get hired. And the problem is that I get very angry about that all artists are underpaid and all artists should charge more culture, because it is true that companies try to screw over artists.
Yes.
It is true that there are people who don't value artists. It is also true that if you are not insanely famous and you try to charge $300 for a single character piece, you are not going to get many customers.
Yeah.
And you need to get well known before you can charge more.
I came into this recently because I was like, I've said this before, I'm trying to learn art. So of course, like someone else had like posted their art and it was like, oh, I told them, yeah, your art's very good. You have some prompts here, but I think you're doing a really good job. Me here thinking that we're both beginner artists is like, oh, you're doing amazing. Later on, they're like in my DMs like, telling me, oh, I'm so glad you were so happy. Hey, can I make an art piece for you? It's like, okay, sure. I was like, it sounds like a nice thing to do. Like this small thing, you don't even have to do the whole thing. Like, yeah, do this. And they said, I usually charge $100.
And I'm like, oh.
I was like, I don't
have $100.
I don't have $100. And also, I was not really thinking of that last piece as that costs $100. All of a sudden, I have a lot more issues with that piece.
Yeah, I've run into that quite a few times. Artists who, they're good, but they're not like $200 good. But if you said that, people would be like, what, you don't think their effort is worth it? I go, no, their effort is worth being paid for.
Their effort's worth it, but I see the problems. There are problems with what you just drew.
And I've had a friend where I used to hire them all the time, and then they started charging 3 times the price, and I stopped hiring them. And then they said, oh, how come you never pay for it anymore? I said, I can't afford $300 for a single piece. And then I said, I think you're pricing yourself out. And then like a year and a half later, they had to lower their prices because They priced themselves out. It's like for a little while you were swamped, so you increased your prices, believing that that was what it was worth. But now you're not swamped, and now you're too not swamped. And now it's, there's a balancing act. And it's not to say that people shouldn't charge a reasonable amount, but there was a culture that encouraged people to charge for things that weren't worth that, which was bad for them. It creates a bad understanding of their own value and an understanding of markets, and that's what some video games do, because at the same time, I remember how mad everyone was at Silksong for costing $20. But I don't know. I think that was probably a good price for the game.
Yeah.
I think it was good. I think it worked out really well for them. And people could go, well, if they charged $40, they would have made more money. And I go, oh, but not necessarily.
I actually don't know if that's true.
No,
Because now more people can afford it.
Because if you aren't sure if you're going to like it, $40 seems like a lot. But if you're not sure, $20 does not seem like a lot.
Yeah.
Valve actually has done case studies on this. They said the steeper the discount. Actually, Peak, the developers from Peak talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really good. They found that $2 is $1. Yeah. Right. But $5 is not $2. Right. And they were like $8. Like $9 is $10.
I feel like a lot of people thought that was a meme, but I think it was.
No, it's real. That's a real concept.
That sounds like it's a real thing, because like you have to kind of generalize where these prices are really.
In a person's head, they're like $8 is kind of still $5.
Yeah.
But $9 is $10. And it was like, so we settled at $8 because like that's where people.
It was still kind of $5.
It was still kind of $5. And if you think about that, you go, that's true. When I spend $8, I don't actually think that's $10, and it feels similar to spending $5.
Yeah.
But at $9 does feel like $10. I can't actually tell the difference.
It's the 99 cents thing.
Yeah. And so it's like, that's so true. The idea of that is true. So you have to think about how when you're pricing, like it's not what the actual number is, it's what does it feel like the number is to the customer. $30 feels like a lot more. The difference between $10 and $20 doesn't feel that big. It feels there's a difference, but it doesn't feel that big. But the difference between $20 and $30 feels very big.
Yes.
And the difference between $30 and $40 feels really big.
Yes.
Right? So then you have to ask yourself, like, what is the mindset of the person buying this? Well, they'll pay $10, but they probably pay $20, but they won't pay $25.
Yes.
So it's very interesting. But we've gone on for a while, and we've definitely ended up somewhere very different from where we started with saying Highguard piss. Any final thoughts? I don't really have anything else to say about high fart.
There's no low blows.
There's no low blows. Okay.
It's not very good.
It's not very good.
I've got nothing else.
You got nothing else. Well, if you made it to the end, thank you for being here. It's been a while since we posted. Hopefully, we're going to be getting back into a pattern. We've kind of had the rough of it after the holidays. But thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.